Hi everybody. So in this video we're going to have a quick look at program neatness or code neatness in your program. So on the screen here I have code loaded, and it's just basically a bunch of lines of code, some printfs, a switch, for, and a do while with a return 0 for the main function. Everything is in the main function. But what you will see, except for the commentary up here, the code is not neat. Okay, there I have commentary that's not even completed. Alright, so I have my includes, and then I have main, and okay, these two lines have lined up. When I say lined up, I mean they're in the same vertical column. So if I were to go and hit enter here, you can see my cursor was placed in that specific position immediately under int. So if I want to go and declare any other variable or float or anything else, it starts on the same vertical column. Now if you declare it like this, it creates a mess in your code. It's harder to read for both yourself and for anybody else that needs to read your code. It's also easier to create errors. Okay, it's easier to have mistakes because you cannot clearly see your code that easily. Okay, it creates a mess. So part of what you need to achieve in this subject is you need to write code that are neat, and we evaluate you on that on this one. So make sure that you practice it. It's good programming practice to write neat code. So neat code is not just the spacing. So basically we call it indentation. So there I indent that. So I don't write my next one here, and then I have something there, and then here this one I put there, and then I have something there. All right, I try to always line them up. In fact, it's not really an attempt. You can do it because you have time to go and do it. You can see it. You have a keyboard to provide the commands. So there's really not an excuse. Okay, it's very good programming practice. Make sure you always indent the same code in your body with the same column. So what I mean is, and I'll show that now as we go through this, you will have different indentations depending on to which body the block of code belongs that you are working on. So indentation can help us visually identify very quickly and easily which code belongs to which block. All right, and it's very useful, especially with your structures, but in general it's a very useful thing to do. The other thing that also adds to your neatness in your code is to have specific locations of where you're going to include typical things in your code. For example, we always start with our hash includes right at the top. Before that, the only thing coming before that is commentary describing overall what this code will do. Immediately after that, we typically here have function prototypes. So here we'll have function prototypes. And if you do have any, then here we'll have global variables declared. So then we all have a good understanding of where we can expect to find what in your code. Alright, so this is just very good programming practice, and we support this and we assess you on this kind of thing. Then we have the main function, and if you have any of your user-defined or custom functions, we will typically go and create these functions down here. So down here, this is where we will go and create our functions. Alright, so below the main function. That's part of your code neatness. The other part of your code neatness is commentary. So the only commentary I have is that and these two lines here. So try always to go and describe your commentary. So if you look at the code here, I don't really see any commentary. So it's going to take more to figure out what this code is doing, both for yourself and for whoever else needs to take a look at your code. If I can show you this solution here, look at the descriptions here. Here you can clearly see this choice variable is used to capture the user's menu choice. So now we know what was the purpose for creating this variable. I and j are counter variables, so we know the purpose for these variables. This line here, display menu until user selects exit option, applies to the do while that's immediately following it. So this describes what is this do while going to do. What is the high level purpose for this do while? Displays the menu until the user selects the exit option. Alright, and then inside here, clear the screen and print menu. This applies to this line of code until we get to the next commentary. So this is kind of like block commentary. And act on user menu selection, that's what this switch will do. Print a square, that's what case 1 will do. Print a rectangle, that's what case 2 will do. Print a triangle, that's what case 3 will do. Do nothing but stop switch, that's what case 4 will do. Get is not described, so please go ahead and describe it to pause the output screen in this case. And then this is the end of the do while. Here you can basically even say the end of do while. And then return tells program ended successfully. Right, so return 0 we know means it tells window actually, or the user, if you look at the console window, that your program ran through to the end to where it's supposed to end and return 0. So it ended successfully. And here we're just actually also saying end of the main function. So when you have custom functions or user-defined functions, please go ahead and describe what that function does at a high level right here in the beginning, and you can even indicate its end there. But typically we have commentary describing the function. Also, if the function's input and outputs are not that easily understandable, so if the function is a little bit more complex, please go and describe a little bit more in detail in the commentary right before your function starts as to what inputs are expected to be given to the function and what outputs can be expected from the function. Alright, so this is a very good example of commentary, and as you can see I have indented the corresponding code. So look at the code here. Looks very messy. You cannot clearly see which case is where, which code belongs to case 1. There's case 2, but if you go real quick, you cannot even sometimes see, oh, there's case 4. It's almost hidden between the 2 breaks, and case 2 is hidden between the break and the 4. Here, look at this. All lined up, nice and easy to see. The switch starts. All the cases are lined up below each other. Okay, then all the code for each case is also lined up. We can very easily see this is the code belonging to case 1. This is the code belonging to case 2. This is the code belonging to case 3. This is the code for case 4. Alright, and as you can see, there is an ending bracket. Now, because I see this is the end of the switch, I can safely assume that this is the end of the switch. If my brackets were messed up, this one was over here, that one was here, I might not have seen that bracket and thought that the bracket down here is the end of the switch, which means this gauge would have been inside the switch according to my understanding, but it's not. So as you can see, the brackets of the switch, the beginning and ending brackets, which creates a structure or a body of code, a block of code, is under each other. And then the code that goes into this body is indented from it. And that's always the case. Look over here. You have the beginning of your main function, and whatever is in your main function is indented one up from that bracket. So these declarations, as well as the do and the beginning of the do, is all part of the main function. Now with this bracket, we're starting a new inner block inside your main function, which is the body of the do while. So now we tab up again from this opening bracket. We tab up because this code, yes, it's in the main function, but more specifically, it's in the do while. And then we get to the switch, which is also in the do while. Once again, the beginning of the switch, we tab up. The case is part of the switch, part of the code of the body of the switch. And of course, after the case, we have the code. So there's no beginning bracket for the case. The colon is basically the beginning. So here you just basically, if you were there, you just tab it up one, and you make sure that all of the code is in the same vertical column, same tabular column. All right. Give a space between the cases. It might create a little bit of more neater code. Like this is once again slightly less easy. It's slightly harder to see the end and the beginning of the separate cases. And then of course, when we're done with the cases, now there's the ending bracket that lines up with that beginning bracket up here. Gauge is not in the switch. I can see that because there's the end of the switch, and because it lines up not with the cases, and we know the cases are in the switch, it lines up with the previous tabular column, which is the same as all these commands, which is in the do while. So the gauge is in the do while but not in the switch. And then this is the end of the do while. There's the end of the while. Alright, so return is outside the do while, not only because it's after, but we can also determine that or assume that because it's on the same tabular column as that of the whiles bracket. If it was inside the while, I would have tabbed it up 1, and it would have been before the while, of course. So all these things adds to the neatness and the easy readability of your code. So if we go back here, you can see this is very messy. Now if you have something like this, just a very quick hint, you have a whole block of code that you want to space up. Of course you can go one by one and just go and space them or go and tab them. Tab is a very useful key for this kind of thing. Or select all of them for indentation and press tab on your keyboard. Now it's in line with do while. However, this code is inside the do while, so I want to indent it 1 from the beginning of that body. So now I can clearly see it's indented 1 from that body. This is inside that body. Alright, the switch is also inside the body, so I want to tab it up so it lines up. Then choice. Then some people prefer to leave that curly bracket there. We prefer to put it under the switch so you can clearly see where does the body begin, especially if you're a beginner. And you can see now I just hit enter and code blocks automatically tabbed up that case for me. So it saw that you are next to a bracket, so when you hit enter it tabs it up for you. So that very nice feature from code blocks. So this is already 1 tab space away from let's see, is it 1 tab space? Let me delete this, bring it back here. 1 tab space, there we go. Alright, that is already lined up. Now this 4, is it a 4 after this 4? Is it a 4 in this 4? It's hard to see. You really have to stand still and look a little bit at the code. You see there's a bracket. This is immediately after the bracket, meaning this is inside that body. So we rather tab it up. We indent it from that beginning of that body. Okay, then this is the beginning bracket for that 4. This printf is obviously then going to be in that body. And this printf is outside of the body. So you can see this is indented from that body, but this is indented from that body because this is not in this 4, it's in that 4. Alright, and then this, I tab it up to show that this is the ending bracket for that beginning bracket. So now I can clearly see this is the end of that out of 4 there. And then I have a break for this case. So I'm going to tab it up so it lines up with the 4 because it belongs or it's part of the case's body. Alright, and then of course I can put a space here and same thing all over again here again. So I'm not going to delve into that anymore. So basically this here is a very good example of what I mean with neat code. Well described, well indented. And the other thing is the spaces. There's a proper spaces. It's not overly spaced and it's also not underly spaced. So if you just keep on writing and there's no spaces between anything, yes, you have a little bit more compact code, but it's not necessary. Not now. Not in the beginning of your coding career. So rather create spaces. There's variable declarations. Let's put a space. There we go. Boom. Variable declarations are there. Now we're getting into our code. We're getting to the loop. Do something. Now this is just the menu. Okay, what now? After the menu we want to switch that menu choice. So I want to make this stand out a little bit because this is part of the switch, which is kind of like the next step in this do while. So boom, space there. Not space, 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 space. This is not what we want because now you're going to make a person start scrolling around to find all your code. Okay, that's not the idea. Just 1 space is enough to create a little bit of a break between that and this here. And as you can see, scrolling to the end, really neat code there. Alright guys, just an exercise, very straightforward. Here's really messy code for you. go and make it neat for me. That's it. Thank you.